So, welcome to this evening's Verzameling, our little broadcast on the portion Bechukotai. It's a very short portion. It's only basically one chapter, but it's filled with meat. And Jerry and I were discussing before you came on, Miriam, some of the things going on in the world. And we were talking about this young man young boy actually, who killed all those kids in the school in Texas, which is a horrible thing.
You
And
mean
now everybody's,
the one that happened a few years ago?
no, yesterday.
Okay, because I've been hearing a bunch of killings. It happened yesterday.
Yesterday in a
How
school
many?
near, I think, between 14 to 18
Oh my God,
children,
that's
school age.
horrible.
It really is horrible.
This okay,
So
because
now,
Texas. Yeah, go on.
so now
Oh my.
everybody's yelling about gun control. And even here in Canada, they want to take away handguns. And one of the things that we've learned from history is that when you take away the guns of the people, two things happen. Criminals have more control because criminals are not going to get guns through legal processes. And the governments, that's how dictatorships can take over because they control the military. When the military have guns and the people have none, and nobody can protect themselves, this
But
is
aren't
how
these guns that they use very specialized, like automatic?
this one, an automatic gun is anybody can have an automatic gun. Now you're talking about these high power kind of. I don't know the names of all the
So,
guns.
what gun did this kid use?
He just went and bought himself a rifle.
Yeah, I think they call it assault rifles.
Yeah, those assault weapons I can understand. Those assault weapons should be checked, and there should be emotional and mental examinations. But the thing is, he went on to social media, and he said on social media he was going to kill his grandmother,
And did
and he
he?
did. He shot her.
Oh my God.
Then he went on to social media and he said, I shot my grandmother. Now I'm going to the school and I'm going to shoot the school. So he announced it. I don't know how nobody reported it, but the issue is not the guns. The
No, I
issue is
know.
we're living in a very sick society that constantly wants to put band-aids on problems,
Yeah.
and instead of getting to the root, to the heart of the matter, the heart of humanity. And I want us to begin with this Torah reading because you're going to see how clear it is. I'm putting the Chabad one because it's the I find the other. Hold on a second. Let me put this up here. The other version was not as easy to read.
He was
So here,
14, the young boy.
he was 18.
Okay.
Yeah, but the kids that were killed were, I think 13, 14.
Oh
It's
my
very
God.
sad. Yeah, very tragic. Very close to the Mexican border. And here it begins. If you follow my statutes. Now, statutes in the Hebrew is bechukotai. Chuk, a chok. Do you know what a chok is?
It's what is the mishpatim and the mishpat
There's the mitzvot, the
mitzvot, the
chukim.
mishpatim, and this is more of a mystery, no?
Yeah, well,
We don't
basically,
know exactly.
the chok has no logical
That's what I mean.
explanation.
It's like
Exactly.
Shabbats and stuff.
So the natural mind, when you say to your kids, do this, and the kids want to know why, and you tell them it's because I said so, you have problems with that because most of us want to know why we're doing something.
Right.
The two middle verses in the Ten Commandments about the Shabbat and the honor your parents are both what they call chukim. They're
Right.
hoks.
Right.
So here, and observe my commandments, mitzvotai, and perform them. You see, not only we follow them, but we do. We observe, we follow, and we perform. I mean, this is like he's saying, it's not enough to say, I know about them or I believe in God. We have to do them, to put them into practice. Otherwise, there's no value in them. But he says, if you follow them, I will give your rains in their times. The land will yield its produce, and the tree of the field will give forth its fruit. So in other words, he's going to bless us.
Right.
One of the things about the chok is there is transforming power in the Torah. The Torah was made to transform our lives. And it's a process that the mind has difficulty with. So we're always fighting against it. But the more we read the Torah and the more we watch how he acts in our life, how he lives in our life, how he walks with us through life, then we build trust in him. And all this is about that. He says, just follow them and I will bless you. I will give you rains when they're supposed to have rain. Not over flooding on one part of the year and drought in another part. The land will yield its produce and the tree of the field will give forth its fruit. Your threshing will last until the vintage, until you're able to reap. The vintage will last until the sowing. You will eat your food until you've had enough, until you're satisfied, and you will live in security in your land. I will grant peace in the land, and you will lie down with no one to frighten you. I will remove wild beasts from the land, and no army will pass through your land. Is that happening in Israel today?
No.
The land of Israel, Jerry? Do we see that in the land today?
No.
Were you paying attention, Jer?
I was moderately paying attention.
Moderately.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we do those things, he says, I will grant peace in the land. Ha'aretz will live in peace. Is Israel living in peace in the land today?
No.
Every single day we read about a stabbing or a killing or they're throwing bombs or they're throwing stones. You will lie down with no one to frighten you. Those who've made Aliyah, who are living in the northern or the southern borders and living in the areas where it's very rough. They're afraid. Families go to sleep and the some of the Palestinians will come in and murder them in their bed.
It's horrible.
You will lie down with no one to frighten you. These are wild beasts who are living in our land, and no army will pass through your land. You will pursue your enemies, and they will fall by the sword before you. 5 of you will pursue 100, and 100 of you will pursue 10,000, and your enemies will fall by the sword before you. You see, right now, if we as a people would be doing what we were called to do, which was to bring our Torah, our commandments to the rest of the world, we wouldn't have these things happening in the States. We wouldn't have these things happening around the world. And it's just the truth. I will turn toward you. It says, paniti, my face. I will turn my face toward you. I will make you fruitful and increase you, and I will set up my covenant with you. You will eat old produce, and you will clear out the old from before the new. Like you won't even be able to finish the old before new comes in. We will be so blessed. And I will place my dwelling in your midst, and my spirit will not reject you. I will walk among you and be your God, and you will be my people. How many of our people, Jer, today can honestly say that they know that their God is walking among them and that he's their God and that we're his people? How many of our people could say that?
No.
Not even a religious people. You were telling me the other day, I think it was you, Miriam, telling me that even among the Orthodox, was it you telling me that? Maybe Mina, 5%. Even the rabbis will say only 5% of the religious Jews can honestly say they trust in God.
Yeah, it's become more of a system and strict, like almost like an order.
Exactly. I am the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt, from being slaves to them. I broke the pegs of your yoke and led you upright. I led you straight. But if you do not listen to me and do not perform all these commandments, and if you despise my chukim and reject my mishpatim and not perform any of my mitzvot, comprises the 10 commandments, therefore breaking my covenant, which is the 10 commandments, then I too will do the same to you. I will order upon you shock, consumption, fever, and diseases that cause hopeless longing and depression. We wonder why there's so much depression in the world.
Wow.
You will sow your seed in vain, and your enemies will eat it. I will set my attention against you, and you will be smitten before your enemies. Your enemies will rule over you. You will flee, but no one will be pursuing you. It's like you always looking behind your shoulder. How much anxiety is there now?
I wonder if there's like if we could look at it as individuals, like with what I've been going through, am I being, you know what I'm saying, like disobedient in this way, and that it's coming upon me, like it's fate forcing me to recommit my life to
Exactly, because our ancestors have left this behind and we are suffering the consequences. And we have to turn back so that these curses will be broken. And if during these you still will not listen to me, I will add another 7 punishments for your sin. I will break the pride of your strength. Now, the pride of your strength, if we go to, hang on a second, Ezekiel, where is it? Ezekiel 24:21. Let me move this over to the side. He say to the house of Israel, so said the Lord God, behold, I am profaning my sanctuary, the pride of your strength. So it's the temple that is the pride of our strength. I will break the pride of your strength and make your skies like iron and your land like copper. There's a beautiful here it says hang on a second, Deuteronomy 28:23 also says the same thing. 28:23. It talks about how our disobedience will cause these things to happen. The Lord will make pestilence cleave to you until it has exterminated you from upon the land to which you are coming to possess it. The Lord will strike you with consumption, fever, illnesses with burning fevers, a disease which causes unquenchable thirst, quenchable. With the sword, with blast, with yellowing, they will pursue you until you perish, and your skies above you will be like copper, and the earth below will be like iron. The Lord will turn the rain of your land into powder and dust, raining down upon you from heavens until you are destroyed. So if there's any doubt of what happens to us when we disobey, but when we say this to people, they don't really want to hear. But the joyful part of it is, I was going to leave this to the end, but I don't want to leave this on this note, because I remember we used to sing this song where it says in Isaiah 60 verse 17, it's talking about like in the end times, when God restores all things, it says, instead of copper I will bring gold, and instead of iron I will bring silver. So God is going to reverse this whole thing for the humanity. but not yet. We're not ready yet.
So it's like, as you always say, it's a partnership, because when God says he's going to reverse it, it's not like suddenly we're going to be good. Like, we don't know at what point God ends and we begin, in the sense that, um, like, God wants us to be obedient. But at this point, when he says the skies are not going to be copper or whatever, is it because we're obedient, or because it's reached sort of a fullness? And like, what, what I'm saying? We have to turn to God.
Yes.
And we have to be obedient. But at this point, have people they've returned to God at this point? Maybe they get so low in the depression and it gets so terrible that people will turn to God.
Well, I think at one point God will reveal himself. It's only God reveals himself to us.
Right.
But at one point, when things are just so bad, it's like when we were slaves in Egypt. Remember, I always say that that's like a prototype for us to look back at.
Right.
The prototype is saying we were slaves for so many years, and it was getting worse and worse and worse, and God heard our cries. And then he sent the Redeemer, Moses. So,
Well,
maybe
he's always willing to give us a chance to turn. Like, he's the God of beginning again, as Rabbi
exactly,
always says.
exactly. And it says, and if you treat me as happenstance, which means if you walk contrary to me, because it's holchu, it's walking contrary to him, and you do not wish to listen to me, I will add 7 more punishments corresponding to your sins. I will incite the wild beasts of the field against you, and they will bereave you, utterly destroy your livestock and diminish you, and your roads will
It's
become
funny, like,
desolate.
even God needs to incite the beasts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And if through these you will still not return to me, and if you continue to ignore me, which so many of us turn away from him, then I too will turn my face from you. That's why we cry, Lord, turn your face toward us.
Right.
I will again add 7 punishments for your sin. I will bring upon you an army that avenges the avenging of a covenant, and you will gather into your cities. I will incite the plague in your midst, and you will be delivered into the enemy's hands. Right now, there's another plague. We got the monkey plague.
Yeah.
And we have our enemies right now, Legault, who wants to take away all the rest of our rights.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
Jer? When I break for you the staff of bread, and 10 women will bake your bread in one oven, and they will bring back your bread by weight, and you will eat, yet you will not be satisfied. And if despite this you still do not listen to me, still treating me, still turning your face from me, I will treat you with fury, adding again 7 chastisements for your sins. You will eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters you will eat. I remember reading this also
Babylon.
in Deuteronomy 28. And this was in Babylon, and I really wonder if this didn't happen during the Holocaust,
Wow.
which was why perhaps some people who survived the Holocaust couldn't face how they felt themselves, the guilt of their own behavior,
Wow.
because it happened in Jerusalem when at the 2-year siege with Titus.
Babylonians.
No, Titus, in the Romans.
Oh, later on, but also
Later,
happened during
the
the Babylonians.
Babylonians, the Babylonians, I don't think this happened, but it was around the time of Titus when Jerusalem was under siege for 2 years and they had no food.
Right.
It talks about it at that time. I will demolish your buildings and cut down your sun idols. I will make your corpses fall upon the corpses of your idols, and my spirit will reject you. It's hard to listen to.
Yes.
And people don't want to hear this because they only want to hear nice things, good things. They want things that they say, remember, that tickle the ear. I will
And
lay
yet the people who don't, believe in God, if you don't really have a relationship with God, it's sort of like a postcard. It's not. They don't really have a relationship. It's trivial.
exactly, because that's the only thing that will bring Torah to life for us. Because then it's almost like an ignition switch. Something was switched in our brain, and our eyes were opened and our ears could hear. But unless God does that through some circumstances that we go through, it makes it very difficult for us to read these words and understand that God is telling us what will happen, but there's hope. He wants us to know what's going to happen in the world when we're disobedient. It's just like when you say to your children, don't play with fire, because you'll get burned. If we
Right.
don't listen, we get burned. It's not our fault. The children didn't obey. I will make the land desolate, so that it will become desolate of your enemies who live in it. And I will scatter you among the nations. Jerry's living in Laval and Chamonix. You're living in Côte St. Luc. We're scattered among the nations. And I will unsheath the sword after you. Your land will be desolate, and your cities will be laid waste. Then the land will be appeased regarding its sabbatical during all the days that remain desolate while you are in the land of your enemies. The land will rest, and it will get its sabbaticals that we didn't give it. That's when we were sent to Babylon. It will rest during all the days that it remains desolate. Whatever it had not rested on your sabbaticals when you lived in it, that's why we were out for 70 years, because for 490 we didn't obey.
Right.
And those of you who survive, I will bring fear in their hearts in the land of their enemies, and the sound of a rustling leaf will pursue them. This reminds me of people who are just so always live with high anxiety. They're so afraid. A rustling leaf will
Yeah.
will it's like the nervous system gets so overloaded
Yeah.
that
Well, I certainly have been through that.
exactly. And they will flee as one flees the sword, and they will fall, but there will be no pursuer. It's like they're afraid and there's no one pursuing them.
Right.
There's such the society is living with such high anxiety now that it shows with this young man, 18 years old, who has such high anxiety he would go in and kill these children. Who knows? Maybe
That's
he was,
beyond high anxiety.
yeah,
That's
that's mental
horrible.
illness, or
Yeah.
maybe he was paid by the the ones who want gun control to go and do it. Who knows? Each man will stumble over his brother, fleeing as if from the sword, but without a pursuer. You will not be able to stand up against your enemies. You will become lost among the nations, and the land of your enemies will consume you. This is what happened in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Because of their iniquity, those of you who survive will rot away in the land of your enemies. Moreover, they will rot away because of the iniquities of their fathers are still within them. They will then confess their iniquity and the iniquities of their fathers, their betrayal that they dealt me, and that they also treated me. The word isn't as happenstance. They turned their face from me. Then I too will treat them. I will turn my face from them and bring them back while in the land of their enemies. If then their clogged hearts, imagine,
Yeah.
becomes humbled, then their sufferings will gain appeasement for their iniquity. And I will remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham. I will remember, and I will remember the land. For the land will be bereft of them, appeasing its sabbaticals. This was back then, because right now it's not bereft of us. But we need to be careful. When it had become desolate of them, and they will gain appeasement for their iniquity. This was all in retribution for their having despised my ordinances, and retribution for having rejected my statutes. But despite all this, while they're in the land of their enemies, I will not despise them, nor with I will reject them to annihilate them, thereby breaking my covenant that is with them, for I am the Lord their God. I will remember for them the covenant that I made with their ancestors, whom I took out of the land of Egypt, before the eyes of the nation, to be a God to them. I am the Lord. These are the statutes and the ordinances, and the statutes, the chukim, the ordinances, the mishpatim, and the Torah that the Lord gave between him and the children of Israel on Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses. And then there's just 3 verses. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, wait a minute. Yeah, when a man expresses a vow, the value of lives to the Lord. Wait a minute, is this? Where's the first? Hang on a second. Sorry, Miriam. Sorry,
No.
Jerry. I just want to be sure of what's the first. Where does it end? 26:3. Hold on. Okay, let's go to the Torah, to Parashot, Leviticus. This is Bechukotai, and it ends with. No, it's finished. The next one would be Bamidbar. So it ends there.
It's like says it all.
It says it all. And here in Jeremiah, where is that verse? He says, my eyes are on all their ways. They were not hidden from before me. I will pay first double for their iniquity. That's the same message over and over again that he's trying to show us. And this is what Jeremiah was crying for our people. It talks about the same thing in Deuteronomy 28, where it talks about what will happen to us when we disobey.
Right. Choose life.
Yeah, in Job it says here, if his days are limited and the number of his months is with you, you set his bounds. And in Hebrew it says, where is it? Hukaiv. You set the hukim for him, and he will not cross them. He cannot. And then in Joel, it talks about Joel, verse 23, and the children of Zion rejoice and are jubilant with the Lord your God, for he gave you the teacher for justification, and he brought down rain for you, the early rains and the latter rains in the first month, showing that it's God who decides when it's going to rain. Everything is dependent upon him. So that's basically this week's portion, which put Jerry to sleep. At least it's good for something. Anyway, it's a very powerful message. And to tell you the truth, it's the only thing that's going to change the world. There is no Band-Aids that will work, no Band-Aid solutions that'll work with the world. And sometimes I get so heavy. My heart gets so heavy because I listen to all these things that people are talking about. And I said, the message is so simple. Just come back to the 10 Commandments. How are we going to do that? How could we possibly do that?
But it's simple, but it's not simple. You have to acknowledge that, the 10 Commandments are God's standard. And it's not something that, well, we all know what good is and bad is. We have a sense of it because he put his spark within us. But really, God is the absolute. He's the end and the beginning. And without God, we can argue all day about what's right and what's wrong. It's not something you argue about. If you don't
Exactly.
have God in your life, then
Then you
you
don't
know,
have ultimate truth, you have your truth.
yeah. So it's relative. Even there are lots of good people who are atheists, but it's not. Ultimately, it's not enough because then they make their own codes. Even if they don't murder, they say, I don't steal, I don't murder, but abortion is okay. I mean, we have no standards without God. He
Exactly.
gives us a moral code.
Exactly. I was listening to somebody speaking about Elon Musk, and then Elon Musk himself spoke, and he really hated school. He felt that school didn't give him uh, the education that he needed. He's extremely bright, extremely, and so he chose teachers and books, and he would read and read and read and read. He's the one who put, he wanted to put a spacecraft into the, and he did,
A
and
spacecraft where?
into the atmosphere. He's like he went and he met with people who could do that. He didn't have enough money, but he worked on it until he could. I think I don't know everything about Elon Musk, but the interesting thing is he said he would read maybe 9 hours a day. And who's that other gentleman? There's the other man who's begins with W. He is multi billionaire, and he also reads an incredible amount. Always, always, always learning. And
Yeah,
I
these
think
are
I,
geniuses.
yeah, they're geniuses. But I think it says somewhere in the Bible about always learning but never coming to wisdom,
Yeah,
something
but
like that.
wisdom and learning are not synonymous.
It's not the same thing. And people think, oh, if I just educate people, the world will be a better place. That's why you have everything now is higher education. Everybody has to have PhDs, but no one's learning to be a farmer. No one's learning to be a shoemaker.
Yeah.
Who's going to deliver the milk?
But also morality is not about it's you're taught it, but it's not words that you're taught. It's
No,
how to
because
live, how
if
to.
your parents don't uh, live the moral code, and they even speak it, they're teaching their children, but then they do something else. You could tell your children don't steal, but then they steal.
Yeah,
That's what they're going to learn. And I always thought, you take somebody off the street who's a thief, and you put him into college, university, and he graduates, he becomes an educated thief.
yeah, exactly. It's not about morality.
Exactly. So there's a difference between education and wisdom. And the idea is really, and the only thing that can bring wisdom is really the word of God.
Yeah,
He has like when I was thinking of how little I like when I was growing up, I never went to ask advice from anybody. I was never taught to ask for advice. And when somebody gave me advice, I didn't want to listen. I always had to do things my own way. And I had to really learn the hard way.
mm,
And it says in Proverbs, in the counsel of many is wisdom.
right.
So now I take counsel when I have to make a decision, especially an important decision. I call a few people. I don't just make a decision off the top of my head because
Right.
whenever I do, let me tell you, I make a
But you
wrong one.
also have God's moral code, so you
Yes,
you could make wise decisions.
yes. But there's something that happens that's supernatural. And I don't think it comes from reading the Torah. I think it comes before.
Well, you're led to read the Torah. People don't. Remember you said when you had an experience with God, you consumed the Torah, you couldn't stop. It was almost like drinking an elixir, or whatever. I mean, I remember too. I was reading the book of Nehemiah,
Nehemiah.
the ninth chapter, and I was just reading it, and something changed from that chapter. It was like God's, the words are living and they touch you, but it's some sort of meeting of God and humans, because we
Yeah.
can't analyze exactly where it happens, but
No.
there's something that happens from God. Otherwise, it's just a study. There are people who dryly study biblical texts, but don't have a relationship with God.
Exactly. There's something
So,
bigger. It's not a religion.
no,
It's something that is supernatural, a supernatural happening. And it doesn't matter how many people we can talk to. Like in Christianity, there's evangelism. And I used to love evangelism. I want to go and it's like selling snow to the Eskimos. But you cannot sell God.
no.
It has to be an encounter with the
Well,
living
people
God.
have to receive it sometimes. Like, even I think you've been talking to, your ex, and I think it sounds like you're having rich conversations, and because there's a receptivity that happens, and the person's ready to hear. Otherwise, you can talk until you're blue.
Exactly. Yeah, there has to be a giver and a receiver, and it has to go both ways.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's no doubt.
Yeah. Well, it was a very interesting portion. I'm looking forward to the time when the land will be like filled with the Word of God all over the earth.
You're
The earth will be filled with His glorious
right.
kavod. Can you imagine?
Remember the song? What was that song?
All the earth will be filled with His
The earth will be
glory.
filled. I forget what the song is.
Yeah. Um, yeah, there's so many of those songs we used to do. Anyway, may God continue to open our eyes and our heart and our ears. May He open the eyes of our people so that they can see. May He use us, in this small community to really do what He's calling us to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
Uh,
hear any news on the
on
Shavuot?
Shavuot,
Shavuot?
no, not yet. I'm still waiting, but I will let you know. I'll let everybody know. Shavuot is,
Okay,
yeah. But I've been preparing. I found a message from the rabbi.
good.
I don't think Mauricio will be there, but it's okay. We'll do it.
Yeah.
We'll find it out, and I'll let everybody know. Anyway, we'll make it short and sweet. And
Where's Jerry?
I think
So
Fell asleep?
I think
Jerry, did you
I
fall
put Jerry
asleep?
to sleep tonight.
no, it's I was over relaxed. I guess no, I think I just ate a little bit and it sort of
We had, Epicure near where is it, Peggy? The Epicure near,
Yeah,
uh,
we went to the Russian store on
near the Orange
Parry.
Julep.
Yeah, near Parry.
oh
Parry.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
called Epicure. Delicious. I ate
yeah,
the rest of it.
yeah.
It's so good. Oh no, did I finish it? Yeah, I finished. Delicious.
Jerry, you want to turn your camera back on for a minute so we can say goodbye, or did you have anything more you want to talk about?
You let it go on. You have to let it go on.
No, I can't. I can't turn it on.
Yeah, no,
There
okay,
you
just
go.
okay.
Hi, Mr. Gerald.
I know I used to do hypnosis, and I'm very good at relaxing people. So I guess
Did you did you do hypnosis?
I did. I graduated from the National Institute of Hypnotism, and
And who's that Kershaw?
no, I knew Maurice Kershaw, but this was Murray Goldsmith, and he had a partner, Ron. I can't remember his last name, but he was an excellent hypnotist, really excellent. He had people coming from all over. He was able to get rid of migraines. He did people who had delivered babies under
Well,
hypnosis.
you could hypnotize me without putting it into a deep state of somnambulism and give me some give me some good suggestions.
Most hypnotic suggestions.
Why don't they use it more for women giving birth?
Uh,
People
I,
don't, it can't, because I'm sure that would change so much. I
yeah,
guess doctors would be threatened.
yeah. They have their systems, and it's not an easy thing to do. People have to be very suggestible, and not everybody could
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
I couldn't.
I couldn't.
I'm not suggestible at
And
all.
yes, you are. But no,
So
you're tougher. You're more stubborn. You're not easily suggestible. I'm more easily suggestible. People who are salespeople will buy. So it's
I hypnotized a few people, Peggy.
yes.
I did. Yeah.
It's not difficult to do. It depends. The person has to trust you. It's a matter of belief.
Well, this guy didn't trust me, but he got hypnotized.
Yeah, then he trusted you.
No, he didn't.
He wouldn't have allowed that to happen to him if
No,
some part of
he
himself didn't.
he didn't. I was with
Some
my
people
friend.
don't trust. It's not so much an individual trust.
But
It's
depends.
a willingness to let go,
Yeah,
No,
and
letting go of
he,
a certain amount of control.
he didn't let go. He just paid attention. I'll tell
No,
you
no,
what.
but that's letting go to let yourself, in a sense, be put
Oh,
on.
that was my friend and I with these two young ladies, and we closed the lights, and I'm hypnotizing them.
okay. And it
So
worked.
I put the lights back on. They're giggling, and he's out.
Yeah, that's
He,
funny.
he was paying attention to what I was doing. You see,
Yeah, exactly.
because
He
he didn't.
allowed you.
Well, he didn't allow. He just concentrated on what I was doing, so he was taken unawares.
But he had to allow you to do
Yeah,
that.
you have to, because I'm
He didn't.
too
He
much in
he
control in a bad
didn't
way.
allow me. It just because he was not aware. He was just listening to me intently, I guess. I mean, the lights were, they just had a little lamp on. He was just listening to me.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I knew he would not agree that he was hypnotized.
Yeah,
He was a very stubborn guy. So I put a little pin into his finger, not a big in, but a little bit like under his skin. And if he was alive, if you did that to him, he would shoot you.
yeah,
But I knew he's going to deny it. Even when he came out, I put him in and out a few times, and when he came out, he denied it vehemently.
yeah.
But he was gone.
Interesting.
So it's if you're taken unawares,
Yeah.
it's you just like if you were hypnotizing Miriam and I'm just concentrating on what you're doing, maybe you hypnotized me, did you?
It's possible. The Torah hypnotized you, so now you're a believer.
Did I ever say I was what?
Did you ever say that you weren't?
No, I'm not finishing the sentence.
I know, because you're non-committal, non-committal Jerry.
That's right. Fence
That-
sitting. There was another. Oh yes, there was another thing that listening to a rabbi this week, and he was talking about Pirkei Avot, not
Okay.
Pirkei Avot, the Shulchan Aruch, the laws.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And a week before, this friend of mine said, Shulchan Aruch is like hard to listen. So I brought it up. So he was there. So I brought up. I said, Rabbi, did we ever think of doing? I said Mishle first of all. Mishle says like who is strong? He was can control his emotions. So he said, oh, that's Pirkei Avot. It's not Mishle. I said, okay. I mean, I would like to learn Kohelet too. From
Ecclesiastes came Solomon. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. So we went. We did a few things from Pirkei Avot. And first of all, I said this, and then at the end, so he said, "We'll take a vote if we want to continue with Pirkei Avot." So he came to me and said, "What do you say?" I said, "I'll go with the majority." I still didn't take a position. And I don't know why I don't take positions. We'll have to ask Miriam.
Why you don't commit yourself?
Yeah.
I don't think it's just that you don't blindly commit. Nobody commits themselves even to order something from a menu unless something clicks. That's what. Yeah, I think it's a blend of mixing some sort of experience you've had with what you've learned, but it's not something that you just The decision comes when you've already been touched in a certain way. I think it's not just, oh, I
It's
think
also a personality. There's some personalities that are just it's easier to make a decision, more
that's
D.
me. It's not easy.
No, exactly. With me, it's D. I just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, you're good. You're good with that, Peggy. For me, it's very difficult to make a decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm like that too,
Well, when
Jerry.
you try to please too many people, then it makes it very difficult.
But even beyond that, a certain character, it's very hard. I don't know, and Mike, I can only talk for myself, but I have so many things that go on in my head. Like I say, what if this is Bubba? I don't really think it's Bubba Meiser, but I'm just saying what goes on in my head. What if this is just wishful thinking?
Yeah,
There's so many things that voice little questions in my head that it's not. I'm not an easy pullover in it. I'm not saying you are, Peggy, but it's just things happen in my head.
Yes, I'm going to give you another one. So it's reinforced, Miriam, that I don't believe there's such a thing as black and white.
Well,
especially for Jews, we live in the gray area.
Yeah, but I mean, black or white depends what you mean. Whether there's a God or not in itself is black and white, but who God is and how we worship, there are other areas that are gray. But the question of is there a creator or not is a very yes or no type of question.
Yeah, it's like the 10 Commandments are black and white, and yet how we live them out,
yeah,
there are many gray areas.
Yeah, the halacha, how you walk.
Our walk is we have choice within the boundaries that God sets down for us, which creates the gray areas. But morality is black and white.
Morality, maybe. We had a question. It said the Sanhedrin was 72 people. I'm not sure. 72, one had 120, 180, 72 people. They said if a person was sentenced to death and all 72 agreed, they wouldn't do it. If he was declared innocent by 72 or guilty by 72, they will not carry out that sentence. You have to have an exception. And you probably did you ever hear that, Peggy, or no?
No.
Okay, and I was thinking, so my thinking was this, Miriam. Why do you have to have an exception?
Maybe because you have to weigh it against, if it's just everyone thinking the same thing, you have to see that there's other ideas to weigh it against. I'm not sure. I'm just thinking off the top of my head.
Well, that's why someone was saying, why do the Talmidim, the Talmud people, why do you have different ideas? So you have to look at things like you have to turn over every stone, to really to examine things from many angles. And then I was thinking to myself, if 72 people saw a person kill another person and they went in and they wanted to hang the person who did the killing, if 72 people would say he was guilty, they wouldn't be able to do it because 72. So I justified in my mind and see if we have an idea. How could you get one or two people saying he's not guilty and the 72 people saw the person murder someone?
So I think you need, anyway, you need somebody who's above, that's why God's
But this is all, for me, it's all religion, because the Torah is very clear. The Torah says, with the eyes of two witnesses, a man can be condemned.
Yeah, because the point is,
so this is not Torah, that's Talmud. And what they're saying is that the rabbis, or what they call the Sanhedrin, the rabbis have more authority than God.
I guess so. If you don't have God's morality, then you can make these kind of arguments.
Exactly.
But if you have God's law, God's an absolute. He's the only being that's an absolute being. There's nothing that created God.
That's what has destroyed our justice system. because the justice system is unjust right now.
So,
It's a
so,
mess.
so I, so I tried to myself. I tried to justify in my mind. How would I say that one or two people would say he's not guilty? And I have an answer for that.
They
And the
would have
answer
to,
is
you mean to find a way to give the person the benefit of the doubt, or to cast a question mark in the minds of the you're talking about, you stay sitting in front of a jury.
right.
Yeah. Well,
So, so the 72 people, I made this up in my mind. We didn't have a long discussion on this. I had a discussion with myself. The 72 people saw a person kill someone. Now
okay.
they're going to hang him, but you have to have at least one or two people who will be opposite to the rule. So my answer was that one or two people would say he's not guilty, because for someone to do something like that is you have to be a little bit insane. So if the man is not guilty by reason of insanity,
Okay.
so this is where you could justify two people saying he's not guilty, because like even that kid who killed those people, that 18-year-old, it's not today we don't know what the normal is, but normal people who are doing things, we don't feel that this mind was running on all cylinders, you know.
Yeah, but that's a liberal perspective. That's a liberal point of view. That young man deserved to die. Period. According to the Torah, it doesn't matter whether he was insane or not. In that moment, he deserved to die.
So where is he now?
Dead.
They did kill him.
They shot him. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and he
they,
needed to die.
they had the other boy killed someone 5 people ago, and he had a gun to his neck, and they talked him out of killing himself. Why did they do that?
I don't know.
But
Because
did you hear about that? The
no.
other guy, he was going to shoot himself, and they talked him out of it.
Yeah.
Well, had he
Well,
shot people, this guy?
Pardon?
Had the one who was trying to kill himself, he had shot some people himself?
Yeah, he killed about 4 or 5
Oh,
people.
okay. All right.
how old was he?
I don't know. I didn't follow that. I don't follow that. I don't make it a special deal to follow all these
Where in
things.
Texas was this?
In
I
a
think
small this is in a small town near the southern border.
Okay.
Yeah,
so.
south.
So Miriam, I think you're more definite with your decisions, eh?
More definite than who?
You make a decision, eh?
I'm not very good at decisions, but no, I have to
You'll,
make
you'll, Miriam, you'll take a stand, eh?
well, I mean, see,
Oh, I meant
sometimes,
Peggy, you will
sometimes,
take a stand, eh?
Yeah, I'll
well,
take a stand, but I can have my mind changed if I hear something that makes sense.
I mean,
But
if you're talking about
yeah,
certain black and white things, on injustices or people being attacked unfairly or things like that, yes, I'll take a stand. Unless I'm a coward. I'm not saying I'm so brave all the time, but that's a different issue.
So previously this evening, Peggy,
yes.
I didn't fall asleep from boredom.
You
I,
didn't
I
fall asleep from boredom.
no, I may
Oh,
have been. You guys relaxed me.
good. I'm glad to hear it. But
Yeah, but what? It was the same result. They
I
have
would,
not.
yeah, I would prefer some repartee with the Torah, but that's
Well,
okay. That's okay. Um, anyway, it's time to say good night. Um, so, how can we end this? Um, I
you
thought
can sing a song.
I could.
Yeah, that
Could
would be
what?
nice. That would
Sorry.
be nice. That would be nice.
We could sing a song.
The Torah or the rabbis say Basimcha, so we should be happy.
Yeah, well, they say that, but they should be more obedient than happy. Let me tell you, today, I would choose obedience over happiness because we're in a desperate situation, and the world is getting more desperate. And if we can't see that, I can't. I mean, my life is happy. I'm absolutely enraptured with some of the things that are happening in my life, but very, very discouraged by what I see happening in the world.
I just,
My guitar isn't here, and I didn't prepare anything to sing,
well,
so
you could sing a cappella, you know.
I could.
There's a fly, the first fly that I've seen, like a young fly right on my laptop.
Really? He's happy?
Guess he said, I want him to fly into so you could see him. I want him to fly at the camera. Okay, go on.
Yeah. Anyway,
And I'm
what's
sorry I didn't participate as much as I could,
yes,
Peggy.
that's okay. Maybe it's my fault. I should let you read again. I took the reading away from you.
Oh, well, no, that's okay. I've been very tired the last few times, but maybe you could convince me to read like a sentence or two or something like that, you know, to wake me
Yes.
up and not at length, you know.
Yes. Well, I was prepared. I have actually, hold on a second. Let me share the screen. I have some songs that I've been preparing for Shavuot. Maybe I'll do a couple of these at next week for. This is one that is beautiful by Rabbi Shlomo Karlebach. It means enlighten our eyes in your Torah. Whoops. May cause our hearts to cling to your mitzvot, to your commandments, and unite our hearts to love and revere your name. Then we shall not be ashamed. Then shall not be humiliated, nor shall we stumble forever, for all times. והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך. והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך. שלא נבוש ולא ניכלם ולא ניכשל לעולם ועד. והאר עינינו בתורתך, ודבק ליבנו במצוותיך, ויחד לבבינו לאהבה וליראה את שמך. May the world learn to love and revere his name. And I love this song. We are believers. We are children of believers, and we have no one else to rely on but our Father in heaven. Israel, believe, betach, trust. It's more trust than believe in the Lord. Trust in the Lord. Whoops. Trust in the Lord, for he is Ram umaginam hu. He is your help and your shield. Israel, betach, trust in his name. Is Ram umaginam hu, for he is your aid and your protection. Oh yeah, the first time I heard this, there was a group of young IDF soldiers marching in front of the kotel, singing this song. אנחנו מאמינים בני מאמינים, ואין לנו על מי להישען. אלא אבינו שבשמיים. אנחנו מאמינים בני מאמינים, ואין לנו על מי להישען. אלא אבינו שבשמיים. ישראל בתוך בשם, עזרם ומגינם הוא. ישראל בתוך בשם, עזרם ומגינם הוא. ישראל בתוך בשם, עזרם ומגינם הוא. ישראל בתוך בשם, Ezramu maginam hu. Ezramu maginam hu. Ezramu maginam hu.
Beautiful.
I love those songs. Thank
You
you,
know,
Jer. Good idea.
Peggy, I want to tell you, you always something supplants something else. Miriam, I was able to appreciate Peggy's voice more for the first time now without the guitar, Peggy. I just want you to know.
Yeah, that's
And
Interesting.
nice.
yeah, so I would suggest even like not every song, a half a song you can try just without the guitar. And you see,
Perfect.
one. Your voice was very nice, and especially like at the beginning, the first verse. It's maybe because you know that more. I don't know, but for me, and it was new for me. I really was able to marvel at your wonderful voice at that time.
Wow. Thank you. That's great.
So you see, so everything has a reason, eh, Miriam?
Everything has a reason. Baruch Hashem.
You're gonna get ready to sing next time, eh, Miriam?
I sing when I sing. I'm just so exhausted. I don't have much breath in me. I was
Well,
drumming.
Here, Miriam. I'm giving you some breath. All right. I say good night. Good night to everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Yivarechacha. Do you know the prayer, Jerry? Yivarechacha.
yes, I know that very well.
Can you say it, please?
Can I say, Yerecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Yoer Adonai ponav elecha v'chuneka, Yisor Adonai ponav elecha v'yosem lecho shalom.
Amen. May the
Amen.
Lord bless you and keep you. May He shine His face toward you, and may He give you His shalom.
Amen.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, thank you.
All the best.
Yes.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.